Hey, it's E.B. Moss, and this is episode 8 of Insider Interviews, where you get the insider's scoop on the business of media, marketing, and advertising. And today we're going to have a sports marketer, and she is one of the best in the business, evidenced by her team being in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to give Jen Kavanagh, the SVP of Marketing for the Philadelphia Eagles, all the credit for that. Am I right, Jen?
Me and maybe a few other people, sure.
Okay, all right. A couple people named Jalen, maybe. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you are heading up marketing for the Eagles, my team, just saying. And that can be daunting for the most average person. But here's the thing about Jen. She leads this strategic development for the whole Eagles brand, the original content, the digital platforms, community relations. Now she also oversees media, data and insights. Oh, and guess what? They launched internationally. So what do you have, like 10 million fans around the globe now, Jen?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Amazing. I really want to start out with one big question. With all of those marketing chops, were you the person behind the biggest marketing coup ever in, I would say, NFL history, getting Taylor Swift to proclaim her fandom for the Eagles and revealing that her lyric was about your team, not the band? Talk to me.
I mean, what an incredible moment. I was there on Friday night for the first of 3 dates that she performed here in Philadelphia. And you're right, there's been a lot of controversy over the last few years about whether that was in reference to us or the band. And look, we knew what she meant, but to have her come out and confirm it, I mean, the place was already electric, but that moment was really, really special.
Amazing. And you got to see her. Yeah.
Yes. I knew that it was going to be a great show. I knew that. But I don't think I expected to be as blown away as I was. Like, I can confidently say that was probably like a bucket list experience. And everyone leaves in awe of her and can't understand how she can do what she does 3 nights in a row, week after week, stadium after stadium. I mean, it's incredible. And I think we had about 66,000 people at the concert. And one of the things you could really see and feel were 66,000 dreams coming true. Oh. I kid you not. So, it was really special. It was really fun. We had a great time.
Oh, that's great. And she is Philly born and raised, I think.
Yeah, she's from Reading, just outside Philadelphia. But, her family's from here and they're big Eagles fans. So,
well, I grew up in Cherry Hill, which is also a Philly suburb. And if time permits, we're going to have to take a little walk down memory lane and talk about all the South Jersey, Philly, food passions and things like that. All right. Well, we did promise that this would be about media marketing and advertising. So let's continue with the context of how you landed with the Eagles, because you were like a digital guru, and then you were even at NBCU. Tell us about how you landed on the field, so to speak.
Yeah, sure. Well, first I have to say, I kind of like my story for a number of reasons, but one of the things I like about it the most is that it's an example of how people's careers are not always linear. Mm-hmm. And I think particularly when you're young, or if you're in a moment where you're trying to figure out your next act, we don't always give ourselves permission to think that, directionally we could do something completely different and be equally as successful. So for me, what that meant was, starting my career, in digital, really thinking about multi-platform strategies, translating that into a television environment when I went to work for OxyGen, which is part of the NBCU family. And then, really my job was to find compelling and engaging experiences that could live across digital platforms that were geared towards mostly young women who love reality television. So It was dynamic and fun, and I learned a lot and was able to sort of translate that experience into a successful startup experience. I worked as a consultant and got to sit with, C-suite executives to help them better understand how the sort of coming digital disruption was going to impact them, how to, build strategy around it. And as we're all seeing right now with what's going on in the streaming space, that was fun and important work.
Yeah.
So none of that included sports, obviously. But one day I got a phone call from a recruiter who let me know that they'd been retained to find this SVP of Marketing and Media for the Eagles. And my response was, "Are you sure that you meant to call me? Because I don't have any sports experience." And he said, "Yes, they're really looking for somebody who has your type of background and experience, and more importantly, can bring some diversity of thought into an already talented group to make sure that we were continuing to be progressive." And in all of my great conversations with Jeffrey Lurie, our owner, and John Smolensky, my boss, it all really clicked. So here I am 5 years later working in sports, and it is just a different kind of reality show.
Yes. And you found a new passion in football as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Obsession. Definitely an obsession.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well, an obsessive marketer who's now obsessive about football, what a winning combination. I'm going to really apologize in advance because I know myself. I speak in cliches all the time. It's my Achilles heel. See what I mean? So if I start talking about, goals and in the end zone, blanket apology. I can't help myself.
No, you can pun away.
Okay. Well, I do want to start with your 5-year anniversary. Do they give you like a gold football or something like that? Let's actually break that down a little bit. I first met you when you were only a year and a half into your job. We did a podcast episode back then. What have you taken away in the next 3.5 years? What's the biggest learning curve?
I would say the biggest learning curve was and continues to be, just learning football centric things because I don't have that deep background in it. My team and my colleagues have been so amazing at kind of, helping me build that bank of knowledge and fill in gaps here and there. And, I'm able to do the same thing for them where, maybe there are situations where they have less experience, but it's been fun. And I would say I probably strive to know and understand more than I need to know to do my job. Like I actually do get really into the X's and O's, but I'm going to be like a student of this for a long time because there's a lot to know.
Okay. So you use the X's and O's. I have
Yep.
carte blanche now. So January, February was a pretty freaking big deal time for you. God bless them. The Eagles were in the Super Bowl. It was an amazing, amazing game. What's changed since then? And I know that there are high expectations for next year, not to talk too much sports, but, I've read the predictions and, I think the Chiefs won't be as much of a contender. What's changed in terms of how hard or how easy it is to market a brand like the Philadelphia Eagles now?
Well, I would say we have more exciting things to talk about than ever, not least of which, having a franchise quarterback like Jalen, who for anyone who follows the team, whether you're a fan or not, I think would not dispute, his character on and off the field. Just having such a great sort of example of a young person who is incredibly talented, invested in the community, invested in women and young women, just got his master's degree. I didn't even know that he was pursuing it. And
Yes.
How did he find time? It's so inspirational. And we have great stories with many players, but I would say, really being able to build team narratives and continue to build our culture around that level of character is a game changer.
What a gift.
Yes.
And, I was looking at some of the social media around his graduation with his master's and in human relations. How humane, That's great.
Yeah.
So now the whole league has expanded internationally. Your club is now in 3 markets. What's your
Yes.
approach to servicing your fans internationally? I don't even know where you begin. And why don't you tell us where you are globally now?
Sure. So we are in Ghana, Australia, and New Zealand. And we began to sort of roll out our efforts in earnest about a year ago, though I would argue that this season is really when we're going to be cooking with gas, as they say. The approach in all 3 countries was really, to have a student mindset, right? We know how to operate here in the US with all the familiarity we have in the marketplace and what we know about our fans and what our fans know about us. But I think our feeling was that it would be disingenuous to attempt to copy and paste that playbook into these other countries that have many cultural similarities and passions, but also very distinctly different cultural nuances and passions. So the goal is really to learn as much as possible so that we make sure the way that we are connecting with fans and building our brand there is authentic to not just who we are, but who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I would say another element of that would be not being transactional. These relationships are so important, especially when they're new, that it would be a terrible idea for us to go into these markets and just sort of promote ourselves and attempt to, collect fans
Mm-hmm.
without contributing something to the communities that we're in. We do that here, so it only makes sense for us to do that there. And so those kind of guiding principles are definitely what we're focused on in each case.
So I know that some of your marketing tactics have been adjusted country by country. So I think in Ghana, you've done watch parties. I think you've done some flag football pursuits. I know, being the sister-in-law of a Kiwi, a New Zealander, do you have to train the U.S. players in the haka?
I can't say that we've done that yet, but I hope we get to learn that somewhere along the way. I had the opportunity to go to Ghana last summer with the league, which was incredible because I had a chance to really immerse myself. And gosh, I don't even begin to know everything there is to know. But I did come away with an understanding of a few things that did influence how we execute, say, a watch party in Ghana versus how we would execute a watch party here in the US. And Ghana is a very young country. The median age is like 20 years old. So combine the fact that they're so young with the fact that they are kind of going through this economic renaissance and money's flowing into the country, and creativity and entrepreneurship was very, very exciting for us. And they care very much about culture
Mm-hmm.
and pop culture. So bringing a football team to Ghana meant that maybe we shouldn't be as X and O forward as we should be culturally forward. Connect them to the players, connect them to the lifestyle. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about fashion, all those things that are part of our DNA, in addition to the X's and O's, because it's important to learn the game to feel invested. But that wasn't sort of the most important thing going in, because that's sort of, what they want first, which was cool, which meant in addition to watch parties, we're bringing in, well-known music artists, Afrobeats artists that are popular in that area to entertain them while, they're watching the game. So just making those kind of cultural connections has been really fun, more on a lifestyle front.
I love that because everything does come back to your relationship to the players, the passion for a sports franchise. I mean, it's all about the connection. So how you find connection is very interesting country by country. Well, let's get a little more X's and O's then, or dollars and cents. What are your business goals? What are you charged with in terms of marketing the club?
Sure. Well, we're stewards of the brand, making sure that our brand continues to express itself in a way that is who we really are, but also has an opportunity to evolve in a responsible way. We have a responsibility to keep all of our fan base engaged, whether they're in our stadium, during the season or not. And so that obviously means different approaches for different channels. In some respect, because we, are so well known, engagement can trump growth, right? Like, are we doing everything that we can do to, service our fans in a way that is unique to us, which often comes down to storytelling via access to things that, you'd really only have if you were the Eagles. In addition to that, growing the business, we have a commercial responsibility to bring great opportunities and experiences to our partners. Data plays a big role in that, just in terms of how we can work in a more informed way, how we can offer certain products and services to our partners that are a little more precise. So I'd say, the fan engagement, brand development, and commercial growth are the things that we're kind of living and breathing every day, in addition to servicing the community, which is a 24/7 sort of activity.
Yeah. Well, you brought up so many things there. I'll give you 3 words. I want to talk about partnerships, and I want to talk about balancing, promoting individual players versus the overall Eagles brand. And I'm also interested in how you work with the Link, your stadium. So take any and all.
So maybe we'll start with the approach to players. Generally, the decision to feature certain players and certain things is driven by what story are we telling? What is it that we're looking to portray or to highlight? If it is something, let's say, that is leadership driven, often you're looking at the leaders on the team. So our captains, and this is just a very loose example. If we want to tell a story about what it's like to be in the NFL for the first time, you're now gearing yourself towards rookies, newly drafted players, and their experiences and stories. If it's about a particular cause, then it's about finding the players who most authentically align with those causes or have stories that relate to them. So there's no sort of one guiding principle. It's very, very personalized based on the story that we want to tell. As far as the Link goes, that's our home. Lincoln Financial Group are our partners. And, we operate the stadium. It's sort of where we have not only all of our home games, but we host Taylor Swift concerts and Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks and lacrosse and Premier League. So it is, I would say, really a hub of activity and passion. We have Eagles Autism Challenge, where I want to say maybe close to 4,000 people get together who've all fundraised for autism and will be biking or walking or running, and they're all ending their journeys on the 50-yard line at Lincoln Financial Field. So it's an incredibly special place, and they are busy. We're doing a lot there.
Yeah. Well, you know that every episode this season, we talk about brand purpose. And the Eagles actually, to me, is so forward thinking in their cause orientation. I know that Go Green was a big initiative, and Autism Speaks, et cetera. Do your causes change as either certain players who are retired and had alignment with causes have left, or do you pick just a few tentpole initiatives and that's part of the brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the best way to think about it is maybe in a tiered way. Our most central cause is Eagles Autism Foundation. That is operated by an incredibly talented woman named Brian Hammond, who has broken every single record every single year with respect to financing, fundraising, and participation in what they do. The process by which they steward those funds is remarkable. It goes directly to cutting edge research, 100% of it, and every single person at the organization is invested in the success of Eagles Autism Foundation. Now, as you said, there are other things that we do that are and have been and continue to be central to who we are as a brand. Go Green is one of those things. Sustainability is incredibly important to us. Our stadium is as certified as you can be in sustainability practices. And, we're looking this year to do a better job telling more stories about it, because there's actually some really fun and interesting things that go into sustainability. And we feel like this might be something that we're used to seeing every day, but we need to do a better job of kind of helping our fans connect with it.
Good.
And then you have, the many, many, many issues in our community and amongst our fan base, which can range from, my cause, my cleats, and the issues that players care about that can range from cancer to financial literacy. But I will say in this last year, we have really focused on gun violence in the community. Unfortunately, Philadelphia faces some real challenges there with respect to both non-fatal and fatal gun violence incidents. And it became clear to us at a point that, we needed to use the power of our platforms to help shine a light on the individuals and the organizations that were on the ground, making a difference, supporting these families, people who are victims of gun violence, and dealing with the real kind of systemic issues that lie underneath it, like financial literacy, poverty, et cetera. So there's a lot of cause-related things in our orbit, and we try to, have an impact everywhere we can. So if we don't feel like we can have an impact, it's probably not the right thing for us, but I can't really think of a lot of situations where that's been the case.
So community, player alignment, what the brand stands for, I don't know, maybe bald eagle protection, what have you. In terms of things that are influenced by the league, my cause, my cleats, does that dictate what you can support, or do you have fair autonomy in your brand purpose selection?
We do have a lot of autonomy because it's in many cases really community driven, and each club's communities have, potentially different needs. It is both an expression of individual player causes as well as club and then league. There are tentpole events where all the teams in the league get together to acknowledge, support, and celebrate. My Cause, My Cleats is one of them. Salute to Service is where we honor our military. All 32 clubs participate in that. Newly implemented program called Inspire Change, which is designed, really to deal with social and racial inequities, is now a tentpole event. Our Inspire Change game will be towards the end of the year. So it's a combination of things, but there are definitely league-driven tentpoles that we all, participated in addition to our own communities.
Well, speaking about embracing change, other than you adopting your new passion of 5 years, how are you applying that core competency that you brought to the table with data, digital, SEO, et cetera? And how are you anticipating being hampered by privacy issues? How do you get first-party data? Let's talk about the whole digital side of marketing.
Sure. Well, as you know, it is a massively important issue, not least of which because it involves individual privacy, as well as companies organizing themselves around this is not an inexpensive endeavor either, but it's like absolutely mandatory at this point. So the league has really taken the lead on establishing what the best practices are going to look like across the clubs with respect to managing consent and privacy. So we're in compliant with all of the various laws that are rolling out in different states, making sure that we're, doing that in time and responsibly. But at the club level, for us, we've spent the last year investing in the building of our data warehouse. We've done that in partnership with Kager, getting that established and operational so that the different business units within the company can start to unlock the value of that database. So right now we're in this sort of process of getting our kind of front end dashboard set up so we can arm our executives with that information. But it is a time consuming but important project. In fact, the data and insights team is fairly new. And so now we've got really talented, folks in-house. And I imagine we're going to continue to build that group out as the needs grow. But yeah, it's exciting.
You also added media responsibilities, or at least your title changed, I think, a little bit. Am I right?
It's always been marketing and media.
Yeah. Okay. More jazz hands though with, okay. So, you worked in television, you worked on the agency side, you're in, I'm going to call it event marketing in so many ways now. Yeah. I mean, you guys also have podcast franchises. What are you loving in media? What are you doing maybe more of, less of as we go into the next season?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to love, but I would say, two things I continue to be very excited about. One is our sort of content development, how we're looking at YouTube as a primary platform for programming our content, establishing flagship originals, really bringing, the content that fans care about that they can't get anywhere else to the right platforms and organizing them the right way. So I think what you'll see with respect to our YouTube channel this season is going to be really exciting. And in many ways, feels like TV also. Everything sort of comes full circle, right? You need these kind of flagship programs to draw in the big audience, and then you need to schedule and distribute in a way that's going to make them want to stay and experience and explore what else you have to offer. So the convergence of it is crazy. I always say this, but I continue to be really excited about TikTok. It's such an interesting platform. We reach more people globally than we do on any other platform. It's very young, it's very female, and there's just as the platform evolves and even the length of video that you can post starts to get longer and change, it presents new opportunities for us. So I'm excited to see kind of what we're able to do there, and that's all entertainment, and those are all just incredibly important touch points for helping people engage with us and get to know our brand better.
So I guess the fact that you don't have a huge fan base in Montana doesn't really impact you with TikTok yet. Okay.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, you came from, was it unscripted at Oxygen? I know the audience was female focused. Yeah. How have you applied storytelling, and how are you working on reaching that growing female football fan?
Oh, okay. This is my favorite thing to talk about.
Oh, good.
So with other clubs and with the league, often talk about the future of fandom being female. And we have so many fans that are women and girls today, but so many more that we have an opportunity to bring into our universe. But the way to effectively do that is to create on-ramps and to remove barriers. So focusing on girls, we realized growing the game of flag football was a really great way to create that on-ramp, bring them into the football universe, and hopefully create opportunities for them down the road that maybe didn't exist previously, whether that's, playing at a collegiate level or even entering a professional role in sports that they hadn't considered. And if they didn't have that touch point, wouldn't have pursued. So we just had our championship game the other day, which was the end of the second season of the Girls Flag Football League that we've created, which is incredibly exciting. We are working on getting the sport sanctioned here in the state of Pennsylvania, and we're getting very close to accomplishing that goal. But something important we learned along the way was that there was a significant barrier at play. And that was that girls were not getting access to essential equipment, specifically sports bras. Sports bras were needed, and they weren't necessarily being talked about, and at the very least not classified as essential equipment. And so we really took that issue on, one of the first teams to do that, partnered with a company called Operation Warm that makes coats and shoes for children.
Okay.
And they are creating the sports bras that we will distribute this fall, 30,000 in our community, so that there's no girl who wants to play that has any sort of barrier in front of them. So
Amazing.
It's really exciting. In fact, ESPN ran an incredible segment on our initiatives there during Sports Center, and they just did a brilliant job telling the story. So we're hoping it's going to inspire other clubs and professional sports leagues to do the same.
I love that, Jen. Thank you so much on behalf of women and girls everywhere, and all people who need a bra.
Yeah.
And you had, when we spoke in 2018, maybe 2019.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Crazy.
You had a pretty decent bench of women in management on your team. Is that still the same? And I know that our friend Marissa Solis has now been moved over to the NFL as SVP of Marketing there.
Yes.
How has it been culturally as a woman in pro football?
My experience has been a very positive experience. I work in an environment where, the contribution of women is valued at a very high level. The diversity of thought that comes from women who experience the world in a different way than men do is seen as very valuable. The upward mobility is present. And so I have to say, culturally, I think we do all the right things, and we're not perfect, but to support an environment where women can really thrive and grow. So recognizing that that's not necessarily the case everywhere, I feel, very fortunate.
Yay.
that that's the case for me.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
And, you only have to look out for people like NicoleLynn and
Yes.
her skills as a
Isn't she
player
incredible?
manager. Wow.
Yes.
Yay.
What a great story. And she negotiated the whole deal 6 months pregnant. I don't think
Wow.
people even knew that until after the fact. She's incredible. What a great role model.
That's great. We're, of course, talking about the big contract with Jalen Hurts. So that's terrific. Your quarterback and represented by a woman. Yay. We heard
Right.
her roar.
Yes, we did.
So speaking of a woman who roars, how would you advise women in general in marketing? And how do you express your leadership chops to anyone?
For me, it was important to identify my style of leadership when I was able. And when you're a very young leader, you maybe can't define that as well because you just simply need more time and to be exposed to more circumstances. So for me, understanding that I am very much a coach, even before working in sports, that is my style, combined with understanding that as you grow as a leader, your success is judged not based on your ability to do the thing you did before becoming a leader, but your ability to support a team in successfully doing that thing now. And that's a real kind of seminal shift for people who are maybe moving from a director to a vice president or are a leader for the first time. But for me, that was incredibly important and really keeps me focused on making sure that my team is supported, that they feel like they have clear goals, that they have as much context as possible to work within, the environment that we're given. But that's my job. My job is to help them do their jobs at the highest level.
There's been a bit of a through line in season 2 of Insider Interviews. I've had a fair number of female executives, and each one of them, it seems, has said that they just raised their hand when an opportunity came their way and, ignored any sense of imposter syndrome and just charged ahead. Have you had feelings like that where you just gulped and said, okay, count me in?
Well, both. I have experienced imposter syndrome many times, and I won't name names, but I've had conversations with former colleagues that are working at the highest levels of media right now who have felt the same, both women and men. So one, I think it's important to talk about and acknowledge so that there isn't a shame factor that comes from, maybe feeling like we might have a little bit of that. And at the same time, finding moments to face the fear, take the leap, and understand that the worst thing that can happen is really not the worst thing. So it's been a combination of those feelings, over the years. And I think that's just part of being a human. And I think anyone who says they never feel that way is the exception to the rule, or they're not telling the truth.
Yeah. If you don't say yes, you never know, because who knows? Right. You could end up in the Super Bowl.
That's right. You got it.
Oh my gosh. I am, through one degree of separation, so happy to be shoulder rubbing with you, Jen Kavanagh. You're just a delight, and you are smart and supportive, and I just want you to keep winning.
Well, I feel the exact same way about you, EB, and I'm so excited to see what you've been doing the last couple of years since we talked. And I think, the guest is only as good as the host and what they're able to bring out of them. So credit to you for that.
Thank you.
Do you come to games?
When I'm invited, love.
Okay.
Well, I'm the daughter of a sportscaster.
We're going to get you to a game this season.
Okay.
We're going to roll out the green carpet. You're going to be my guest, and I promise you'll have the experience of a lifetime. So don't let me forget.
Okay, that's not going to happen.
Unlikely, right?
That's right. Jen, thank you so much. It's great to see you and hear you again.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you got some good insider scoop from this episode of Insider Interviews with me, E.B. Moss. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/mossappeal. And I hope you'll follow Insider Interviews on social media and let me know if you have a question or a suggestion for a next stellar guest in media, marketing, and advertising. Speaking of stellar, my theme music was composed and performed by the incomparable Grammy-winning John Clayton. If I can help you with your company's podcast, please find me at mossappeal.com. Thanks again for listening.